All right. Good morning, everybody. I'm going to talk today a little bit about one of my most recurring topics, I guess. I get, I feel like it's on my mind a lot because, like, being fully transparent, I struggle a lot with it myself. And that is like setting those boundaries in adult relationships, particularly adult relationships where there's certain power imbalances. It seems like saying what needs to be said, setting a boundary, you know all of these different, like, standing up for ourselves gracefully type of things, or standing up for our values gracefully type of things. It's such an ongoing practice, and sometimes we miss our mark really far. Sometimes we miss our mark by not speaking up, and sometimes we miss our mark by speaking up with less grace than we had hoped to speak with, right? And um, finding not only the balance with which we say something, but actually finding the courage and finding our voice is incredibly, incredibly hard. Um, I have found myself struggling a lot lately with that. Particularly in adult relationships, in the parent child paradigm, we hold all the power, and it's our job, air quotes, right? But to tell our kids what to do and how to be. And so, therefore, it becomes a lot easier to set boundaries with them. Like our parents installed our fear of setting boundaries in us, we now hold that same position with our children. And so, generally speaking, most adults don't actually struggle to hold boundaries with their children. When people are saying that, oh, you know, um, they don't hold boundaries and they're pushovers and permissive, um, because they're having a hard time setting boundaries. It's not that. It's that literally their hearts are telling them intrinsically that this is wrong, and they don't really want to set those kinds of boundaries with their kids, which is an intrinsic, like, instinct within us, that, like, there's certain respects that we should have with our children that anyways, veering a little bit off of topic here. Sorry. I get so deep into all the nuances of the discussions, it's hard to stay, like, on focus. Usually I'm pretty good at coming back around to the point that I'm trying to make. The point that I'm getting to is that setting those boundaries, or saying what needs to be said, or, like, honoring ourselves in our adult relationships is a lot harder. And, and I feel like, I actually feel like I probably said this on the last couple calls. It's like all of my talks are a reminder to lean back into ourselves and into our values and what's really, really, really important to us. Because at the end of the day, when we're not true to that stuff, like, it hurts worse than any of the fallout that happens from saying what needs to be said. When we try to sleep at night and we think about how, we may have, how we could have done something differently, and we're when we're not true to ourselves, we're always going to feel like we did it wrong. If we're trying to please other people, we're going to feel like we did it wrong. And if we're pleasing ourselves, even if the outcome is less than perfect, we're still going to feel better than if we didn't say anything. And I had a couple reminders recently where, like, as I said at the beginning of the talk, I have personally been struggling a lot to find my voice in some situations. And the reminder that I got that was so important to stay like true to my values is that, something was said that made me uncomfortable. Was it that bad? No. But was it pretty bad? I mean, like, from my values and my perspective and my point of view, like, yes. And so, like, but like from a mainstream point of view, it was like very commonplace. And I didn't say anything. And somebody that I cared about was, just very hurt by the entire interaction. And it reminded me that, I lean into my values for myself, and I also lean into them for my loved ones and my community and my children and everyone around me. And it's important to me that, like, I'm always true to those values. Like, and so at the end of the day, I guess that's, pretty much what I just wanted to do, is put out there that reminder there that, like, it is hard. It's really, really hard to speak our truths and to stand up for what we know is right, and to continue to advocate for the things that we advocate for equality and for, respect for children and for marginalized folk and for all of these other things that we stand for. Like, it's not just important for all of the other reasons, like all of the social impact and all of those other reasons that it matters. That, even like the aspect of gentle parenting and like breaking the generational trauma and all of that. And it's what really feels right to our hearts that matters the most. When we feel like, we're living a life that is as aligned with our ideals as we can possibly get, which is probably going to be pretty far from perfect because we're human and life is what happens when we're busy making other plans, in the wise words of John Lennon. So, you know, it is, again, I know I mentioned this again recently too. It's kind of a lonely road. And I'm really grateful that we have this community where we see eye to eye on so many topics and understand each other on that deeper level. And we can enhance on thoughts instead of argue about thoughts. And what I learn in these communities too is that, like, when we begin to really care about, like, being a better person, when we care about, like, being a little bit bigger than we were yesterday, or, healing some of our pain or doing something a little bit different. And so, yeah, anyways, it is really when we're doing all that stuff, it gets very, very, very lonely. So it's super duper helpful to have a community to lean into where we can enhance on each other's thoughts, as opposed to constantly being out in a world that is full of a lot of, like, pushback against the ideas. So I'll leave it at that. I'll go ahead and end the recording and we can get to the sharing portion of the call. I'm super grateful that you're all here today. And as usual, you can just kind of let me know if you'd like to go first or last. anywhere in line. So I'm going to go ahead and